This presentation for psychology class is based on my topic, which is the mental health and well-being of the Indigenous population. Finding the subject for which based my presentation was easy. Finding an article for the subject I chose, not so easy. Having said that, I was happy to have found an article relative to my subject. It is a research model that I believe is an exciting approach to the existing research for development of programs for my chosen topic, mental health and well-being of the Indigenous youth. A traditional research model regarding mental health programs for Indigenous youth. The traditional model establishes the programs implemented without the input of the population for which they were developed. The CBPR, Community-Based Participatory Research Project, is very exciting. This model is set out to prove the validity of the project. Its unique approach will rely solely on the participation of the youth in every stage of the project. The model was set up to be self-directed, give input, and be part of a co-facilitated dissemination activity. In the following minutes of this presentation, I will be discussing the research model's purpose, discuss the participants, how the procedure was presented and implemented, and the findings and results of the research project. The purpose of the research project is to help build a model of mental health and wellness and prevention by promoting youth-guided programs involving the youth in every step of the project. The purpose is to also highlight the benefits of using partnership between the researchers and the subjects. The participants are between 11 and 18 years old and from the youth Indigenous circumpolar communities. The location of the research model is located in southwestern Alaska. The accessibility or challenge of the accessibility highlight the remoteness and at times the isolated community. It is accessible by airplane year-round. The community is also accessible by boat when the Yukon River thaws. In the winter time and cooler months, snow machines allow the residents in this remote community to travel to other villages. The population of this area for which the study is focused is between 200 and 1,100 people, for which 95% are Alaska Native American Indians. The project conducted 20 life history interviews with youth and over 40 members of the community. The adults and elders were in agreement with the research design. They were involved by overseeing the initial implementation of the youth community research project. When the research was ready to be presented, it was done in the school setting by the administrators. The project was introduced to the youth, highlighting youth researcher partnership. The approach was facilitated through the use of 3 key strategies. One was a formation of local steering committee made up of youth, adults, elders, and tribal leaders. 2 was establishing youth research partnership. And 3 was the implementation of the youth action, translated the findings from the interviews, and implemented the activities. The youth co-researchers completed training on how to stay true to the ethics and maintain the authenticity of the project. The youth who agreed to co-partnership were then encouraged to open a dialogue with their peers to disseminate the research project. This was done by a co-partner youth by helping to describe to other youth the reasons, the goals, the purpose of the research, also highlighting to their peers the unique component of co-facilitated dissemination activities for which they could all take part. This model would allow the power to shift back to the youth. The youth assisted in the analysis of their life story data through the process of interviews and incorporated the findings from the activities. These activities were based on the outcome subject of the interview. Some of these topics became a common thread from the result of interview findings. One of these common threads was being useful by helping elders and being proud of the village. Once this was highlighted, the youth given participants developed strategies for being healthy through doing. A common theme among the youth was being useful to others, and it was part of the living culturally healthy life and contributed to their mental health and well-being. The project was put into motion. The action was to take wood that was previously cut to make way for a new school site and to deliver the wood to the community elders and helped in the objective of being useful. After the project was completed, the co-youth researchers had a discussion with the participants and the youth in this project and talked about how the action helped them and contributed to their well-being. The other project, in discussion through research and interviews, was to have pride in the village. For this, the project participants discussed the fact that the presence of graffiti on the traditional council building and the trash not being picked up around the community proved to be a common link for the manifestation of some of the youth to feel stressed out. It was stressful for them to see the state of their community for which they lived. For this activity, several of the youth co-partnered through youth dissemination of the activity to cover the graffiti on the council building. Afterwards, the youth and the elders and adults all gathered in a building to discuss the activity and its benefits. Discussion ensued, and the importance of power and using positive words were highlighted. Determinants and protective factors of Indigenous mental health and wellness are shaped by many factors. The Blackboard article outlining the Indigenous concepts of mental health outlined one very important passage that stood out to me. Mental health is increasingly recognized as a state of well-being in which the individual can realize his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and be able to make the contribution to his or her own community. The conclusion of this participatory study emphasizes that very concept. The other valuable piece of Blackboard article highlighting the value of adoption of the CBPR model by taking the Indigenous people and the youth to learn about their views on mental wellness and to validate the holistic understanding and empowering their own communities. By the commitment of providing cultural safe spaces to address the imbalance of power the community deeply senses it's aware of. By providing mental health services in a culturally responsive manner, work on respecting the unique components of mental health issues facing the Indigenous patients and communities. Building and maintaining trust with this is very important when working with Indigenous members, adults, and youth. The adults were initially cautious of the research project. Likewise, the youth were hesitant to engage in the research project process until researchers were trusted by both community groups. A continuum of the Indigenous youth that includes the right project model will ensure success and continued involvement by the youth. What is apparent to me is that the core of any remote or small community, those who live and learn and grow within its perimeters, have many challenges, some of complex natures, with layers or even generations of mental health concerns. Having the basic need of many in this state of reality and the challenges they face. The reality that all those that live within their communities can find the common denominators by this approach and empowering, involving, and giving a voice to the youth, who then gain a sense of self and purpose for all those who dwell there and seek the balance. In gaining better insight, the communities facilitate change within.